Imagine saving $22,000 for your dream wedding, only to find out your sister-in-law spent it all on a luxury cruise for herself. She thought I'd just forgive and forget because we're family. She was wrong. Not only did I cancel her vacation, but I made sure the entire family knew exactly where that money came from. Welcome to the Reddit Record, where today we're diving into 5 stories of family betrayal and the most satisfying revenge you've ever heard. Our first story is a classic case of entitlement. I had been saving every single penny for 3 years to afford my dream wedding. My sister-in-law, Sarah, somehow got access to the joint family account we use for emergencies. She decided that her mental health required a $20,000 luxury cruise. When I confronted her, she actually had the nerve to say, "You're young, you can just save again." I didn't scream, and I didn't cry. I simply called the cruise line, proved the funds were stolen, and got the booking canceled. The best part? I waited until she was already at the boarding gate with her bags packed. She was left stranded at the port with no money and a canceled ticket. Family is calling me petty, but honestly, I've never felt better. Moving on to story number 2. A brother tried to trick his own sister out of their father's house. He forged a fake will, thinking his sister was too emotional to check the paperwork. Little did he know, she had the original copy in a safety deposit box all along. Instead of calling him out immediately, she let him move his entire family in, spend thousands on renovating the kitchen, and then, only then, did she serve him the eviction notice right in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner. Talk about a cold turkey. Next, we have a story for everyone who has ever dealt with an entitled mother-in-law. This woman actually wore a literal white wedding gown to her son's wedding just to upstage the bride. But the bride was prepared. She didn't get mad. She simply tipped the servers $100 to accidentally spill glasses of red wine on the mother-in-law within the first 10 minutes of the reception. The mother-in-law had to spend the rest of the night wearing an oversized, neon green tracksuit from the hotel's Lost and Found. In our fourth story, a wife discovers her husband has been secretly funneling money to his ex-wife for years. She was wondering why they could never afford a new car or a vacation. She didn't confront him at first. Instead, she waited until his big 40th birthday party. In front of all his friends and his parents, she gave him his gift, a beautifully wrapped folder containing every single bank statement proving his lies. The look of pure terror on his face was worth more than any sports car could ever be. Finally, we have a daughter who was always treated like a second-class citizen compared to her golden child brother. Her parents secretly sold her childhood car to pay for the brother's gambling debts. When she found out, she didn't just walk away. She used her tech skills to find out where the brother was hiding his winnings and reported it all to the tax authorities. Now, the brother is under investigation, and the parents are begging her for help. The answer? A very simple no. Family can be your worst enemy sometimes, can't they? Which of these stories made your jaw drop the most? Let me know in the comments below. Wait! Before we wrap up today's episode, I just received 3 more stories that are honestly too crazy to keep for tomorrow. You guys always ask for more, and today I'm delivering a mega episode. Let's dive straight back in because this next one involves a golden child brother and a betrayal that almost cost my family their entire retirement savings. Recently, my younger brother, the so-called golden child, came to me crying. He claimed he owed $15,000 to some very dangerous people. My parents were literally about to sign over their house to save him. But then, I found his secret Instagram account. He wasn't in debt. He was literally on a private jet to Las Vegas, spending my parents' retirement fund on champagne and luxury watches. I didn't say a word. I just waited until our big family dinner, connected my phone to the TV, and played his Vegas stories for everyone to see. The silence in the room was deafening. My parents finally saw him for who he really is, and he was kicked out that same night. Then there's the story of my old boss. He was so cheap that he fired our entire expert IT department just to hire his nephew for a fraction of the cost. He expected me to train the kid for free, but I refused. 2 weeks later, the nephew accidentally wiped the company's entire client database. My boss came crawling to me, begging for help. I told him my new consulting fee was $50,000, paid up front. He screamed and called me names, but he had no choice. I hit restore on a secret backup I had created months ago. It took me exactly 5 minutes, and I walked away with a year's salary in one afternoon. And finally, my neighbor decided to be a bully. He thought he could steal 3 feet of my backyard by building a massive brick wall while I was at work. When I showed him the property lines, he laughed and told me to sue him. So I took a different route. I called the city inspectors and pointed out that his new wall was blocking a major city drainage pipe. Not only did the city force him to tear down the wall at his own expense, but the fines were so heavy he had to sell his car just to pay them off. Now, I have my land back, and a very, very quiet neighbor. Family, bosses, or neighbors, justice always finds a way. And if you think family is bad, wait until you hear about this Bridezilla. I'm a professional photographer, and a former friend hired me for her wedding. She promised to pay me $2,000, but after the wedding, she blocked my number and started posting my unedited photos on Instagram, claiming they were trash. She thought she could keep the high-res versions without paying. What she didn't know is that I had a clause in my contract for non-payment. I didn't sue her. Instead, I sold the exclusive rights of her disastrous wedding photos to a major cringe compilation blog. She saw her face as the thumbnail for a video with 5 million views titled "Most Entitled Brides." She literally begged me to take it down. I told her the price was now $5,000 to buy back the rights. She paid every penny. Next, we have a story from a guy whose uncle tried to steal his grandmother's house. The grandmother wanted the house to go to all the grandkids, but the uncle found a secret paper saying he was the sole owner. He kicked everyone out and started renovating, but he made one big mistake. He didn't check the attic. I went there to pick up my old boxes and found the real, notarized will hidden inside an old sewing machine. I didn't tell him. I waited until he spent $40,000 on a new roof and a swimming pool. Then, I showed up with the police and my lawyer. Not only did he lose the house, but since he didn't officially own it, he couldn't claim a dime for the renovations. He basically gifted us a luxury mansion for free. And finally, a little bit of office justice. I had a coworker who stole my lunch every single day for a month. Management did nothing. So, I decided to make my special spicy chicken. I used the world's hottest chili, the Carolina Reaper. I put a big label on it that said minutes into lunch, I heard a scream from the break room. The thief was on the floor, face red, crying for water. He tried to get me fired for poisoning him, but since I had put a warning label on my own food, HR told him it was his own fault for stealing. He hasn't touched a single lunch bag since then. 8 stories, 8 lessons in karma. From weddings to offices, people really need to learn that you reap what you sow. Which of these made you laugh the most? Was it the spicy chicken or the house-stealing uncle? Drop a comment below. If you want more mega episodes like this, hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed. But wait, it doesn't even stop there. Just when I thought I had seen the worst of humanity, I received 2 more stories that make the others look like child's play. If you thought neighbors and bosses were bad, wait until you hear what my own sister tried to do. This one is about a fake inheritance and a betrayal that backfired in the most expensive way possible. Let's keep going. My older sister Sarah thought she was entitled to our grandfather's entire estate because she was the favorite grandchild who visited him once a year. When Grandpa passed away, Sarah produced a handwritten note claiming he had left his classic 1967 Mustang and his lake house solely to her. My parents were too heartbroken to fight, but I knew Grandpa. He was a meticulous man who kept every receipt and document in a fireproof safe. I spent 3 days in his dusty attic until I found it, the real notarized will. It stated the house was to be sold, and the money split equally for the grandkids' education. And the Mustang? He left it to me because I was the one who helped him fix the engine every summer. I didn't tell Sarah. I let her tints on Facebook and even start a GoFundMe for renovations. On the day she tried to move in, I showed up with the estate lawyer and the police. Not only was she forced to leave, but the lawyer informed her that forging a will is a serious crime. She didn't go to jail, but she was completely cut out of the actual inheritance to pay for the legal fees she caused. Now I drive that Mustang every Sunday, and Sarah is still renting a studio apartment. And finally, a story of corporate karma. I had a coworker named Mark who was a classic credit stealer. He would take my ideas, present them to the CEO, and pretend I was just his assistant. Last month, I spent 80 hours on a marketing strategy that was guaranteed to save the company millions. I saw Mark lurking near my desk, so I created a fake strategy document filled with absolute disasters, bad math, illegal marketing tactics, and insults hidden in the fine print. I labeled it as expected. Mark stole the file from my shared drive and, without even reading it, sent it to the entire board of directors via reply all, claiming he stayed up all night working on it. 10 minutes later, the CEO called an emergency meeting. Mark was standing there, grinning, waiting for a promotion. Instead, the CEO read the fine print out loud. This plan was stolen by a man who can't even read a spreadsheet. Mark was fired on the spot for plagiarism and incompetence. I then stepped in, presented my actual strategy, and got the promotion Mark thought he had stolen. Justice in the office is rare, but when it happens, it's beautiful. That's 11 stories of pure, satisfying justice for one massive episode. People really need to learn that you can't just walk over others without facing the consequences. Which one was your favorite? The Mustang inheritance or the office bully? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the Reddit Record for more daily revenge. I'm Lily, and I'll see you in the next one.